of Monday, January 9th, 2023 to order, and I will ask staff to please call the roll.
Council President Furman,
Present.
Alder Carter,
Present.
Alder Verveer, can't hear you, Alder Verveer, but we see that you're here. So, Alder Figueroa Cole,
Here.
Alder Vitiver,
Present.
Alder Evers,
Here.
Mary of Quorum.
Thank you. Right. We have no members of the public wishing to speak. So are there any disclosures or recusals on today's agenda from members of the body? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there items that alders would like to have separated from the consent agenda? Alder Furman.
Thank you, Mayor. Items number 24, 25, and 26. They're all going after the same pot of money, so should probably not approve them on consent. Thanks.
24, 25, and 26 will be excluded from the consent agenda for an incredibly reasonable reason. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question on agenda item number 3, please.
I suspected you would, Alder.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Just apologies for my tardiness. I had an untimely Zoom update.
As did most of us, apparently. Any other items that members of the committee would like to have excluded from consent? Going once. Going twice. Seeing none. I was just scrolling to see if our confirmation hearing is here, but I think we can leave it on consent. All right, then, President Furman, a motion, please.
Move adoption of the consent agenda, excluding items number 3, 24, 25, and 26.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor of the consent agenda? Seeing no objection, we'll record that vote. And we will come then to item number 3, which is Legistar 75319, adopting and confirming the labor agreement between the City of Madison and the Association of Fire Supervisors. Let's get a motion on this first, please, President Furman.
Move adoption.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Alder Verveer, you had questions?
Yes, thank you. I think I just have one question for you, please, Aaron. So I know I'm not going to ask you to review the entire report. The only question relates to the item about residency. And I presume that this is the 1% longevity penalty being removed. But my question is, are the AMFS members still required to live within 15 road miles of the city limits under this collective bargaining agreement?
Yeah, it didn't take away their requirement to live within those statutory limitations. It just took away the 1% penalty for being outside of the city proper.
Great, thank you very much. That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Any other questions? If not, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record that vote and move on to items 24, 25, and 26. And perhaps before we do, Dave, do you want to just remind us of what we're looking at here on the budget side?
Certainly, Mayor. So as you probably recall, the 2023 budget was adopted by the council and it included a provision to fund an increase in alder pay effective with the after the next council election in April. That pay increase required a subsequent adoption of an ordinance change. That ordinance change did not generate sufficient votes to be adopted by the council. Therefore, the amount of funding for that pay increase, which is a little over $91,000, had been appropriated or is appropriated in the council budget. But the purpose for which that funding has been appropriated basically was not adopted by the council. So that funding is basically available, and you have 3 resolutions before you that would allocate those dollars basically in 3 different ways. Agenda item number 24, which is Legistar 75038, would allocate that entire $91,078 to the Public Health Department for violence prevention services. And agenda items 25 would, which is Legistar 75055, would take 15,000 of that 91,000 and use it, reallocate it within the council budget for intern stipends. And agenda item 26, which is Legistar 75056, would transfer $74,460 from that 91,000 from the council budget to the Department of Civil Rights budget for a new 1 full-time equivalent equal opportunities investigator position.
Thank you, Dave. Just wanted us to sort of all be on the same page with what the issues are here. So we'll start with item 24, which is Legistar 75038. As Dave said, amending the operating budget to allocate funds to the violence prevention services in public health. Let's get a motion first, please.
Move adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. On item 24, are there questions for staff? No. All right, seeing no questions for staff, then discussion. Alder Furman, you did have your hand up first.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm
sorry. Alder Evers, did you have a question for staff?
I did, yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I was perhaps a little slow. I don't believe Ariel is here, but perhaps Janelle could answer some questions.
Go ahead, Alder.
Yeah, Janelle, it's my understanding that this money, additional money for this RFP was not requested, was not part of an agency request from Public Health. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Could you tell me a little bit about the RFP itself and details of how it's currently funded and for how much?
Sure. We have received ARPA funds from the city and the county, primarily the city, to support putting RFPs out in alignment with our roadmap. The coalition has been heavily involved in selecting those priorities, and I would say the goals that are being focused on for the RFP. Those goals are goals 2 through 4 of the roadmap, such as goal 2, support community engagement with children, youth, and families. Goal 3, foster strong neighborhoods. And goal 4, bolster and increase intervention and continuous healing for those affected by violence. So those are the areas of the roadmap that received funding in last year's funding cycle. We have $300,000 per year through 2024 to support putting out RFPs for work in support of that roadmap.
So if you had this additional 91,000, would you put it all towards 2023, or would you try to spread it across 2023 and 2024 so there would be continuity, or have you thought this through? Do you have?
I would ask perhaps for the alders to support answering that question and the intent of where that funding would go in alignment with that RFP cycle. We have maybe three cycles. I'm catching up on all my reading in Ariel's absence that I think that last year's funding may be spread out in 2 cycles. So there may be 3 funding cycles still left, but over the course of these next 2 years, with the goal of putting the 2023 RFP out no later than March of this year. Last year, we weren't able to get that out the door until June for funding to start in August.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Are there other questions? Alder Furman, it's not questions. Alder Carter, is it questions? You're muted, Alder Carter.
Janelle, I think you've answered this, so bear with me. If this was to pass, would you reopen the RFP, or would this be a second RFP? And how would that second RFP be different from the first?
So I think part of that question I would ask that Alder Figueroa Cole responds to with the intent of the resolution. But I do not believe that we would not be reopening the first year's RFP. Any additional funding would be applied to the second year. I think the question that I'm unable to answer is around what, which is a brand new RFP, would be around what, if there is an intended element to focus on within what will be funded.
That's fine. That answers my question.
Any other questions? If not, then we'll go to discussion. Alder Furman?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to be supporting this, which is really difficult for me to say. I have been a big proponent for our violence prevention service programs. My not supporting this evening is not intended to take away from that support. But there are 2 reasons I'm not going to support this. I think when we allocated this money in the budget, it was intended to provide a living wage for alders. I'm incredibly disappointed that we didn't get enough votes to do that. But I did hear loud and clear from a bunch of the alders that did not support this, that there would be ways to make the alder job easier. And one of that could be adding staff to the council office to help with constituent requests. That is a discussion item for an upcoming CCEC meeting that may or may not happen. But I do think that the job for alder, if it's not going to have a living wage, certainly needs more support. And then I think the other point is we don't have to spend every dollar in the levy. I think leaving ourselves some room and some breathing room isn't a bad idea. And so with a little bit of sadness, I won't be supporting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Figueroa Cole? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry. Wrong button.
Okay.
So definitely I will be supporting this. As we heard from Janelle, the money that we are spending on these RFPs are coming from ARPA. I think that when we talk about violence prevention, we started with that process roughly last year of putting them, like creating a budget that was specific for these purposes. These $91,000 is just to continue to create a funding through that lane to ensure that the services that they're providing continue to happen over the years. This money is not an ARPA fund. This is money that we're allocating to the executive budget going on. As she mentioned, there's the RFP that is brand new that we just released, contain a few elements, which includes things like better relationship with police and community, improving cultural responsiveness and support cultural identity of community members, which includes promoting the connections with communities of faith and different cultural identities groups. We have the money doesn't necessarily have to be for the RFP that we are right now releasing, as the question's been asked, but just to be increasing the budget for the violence prevention group to continue to do the work. I trust that they will be able to allocate it however it fits best. We currently have this one particular funding, and definitely we already have enough interest among the consortium of front violence prevention to get it going. And if we can fund it better, so be it. That's what the intent is here. Not only to support this round of funding, but to show the commitment to have additional funds allocated to the violence prevention work. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Evers?
Thank you, Mayor. Like Council President Furman, I will not be supporting this with some regret, because I too am feel keenly interested in the topic of violence prevention. But that public health did not request this money is somewhat of a deciding factor. And the $200,000 that was originally allocated in the budget amendment that I had come up with for CARES, and then I reduced that to $100,000 to provide some additional money that was available within the levy limit for other alders to propose different ideas. Principally, I wanted to see some of that, a portion of that money going to alder pay. And when that did not take place in response to a unanimous request, a unanimous vote from the Community Services Committee, I tried to put forth an amendment, as you all are aware, to see that some important work being done by community service organizations that did not get funded at their 2022 level could receive additional funds, but that got voted down. At this point, I would rather see this money go to either an agency that did put in a request into the current budget but was not funded, or to see it to go back to the CARES program. And thirdly, as Council President Furman says, we don't have to spend this money. There's no obligation that we spend it. It is the taxpayers' money, and we do not need to spend every dime. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Carter?
Yes, I'll have to agree with my colleagues that I will not be supporting this for some of the same reasons. This is not an agency that requested it. And I absolutely agree with being fiscally responsible. And that means you don't have to spend every dollar that's available to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. I have no other alders in the queue. Oh, Alder Figueroa Cole.
Just want to add, thank you for all the feedback on this regard. Just the fact that the agency didn't ask for it, I don't think that is I don't understand that argument, but I appreciate it. I guess that's, I'm not, the violence prevention committees is not something that is a requirement for me to be on. It's not something that I was assigned to be in, but I have been part of that committee since I became an alder. So I recommend to all of you to get involved with at least one of the 4 or 5 lanes that the violence prevention plan group has, the consortium has, and just pick a meeting type and stick to it, because you will learn a lot and you will figure out a lot of the needs that is happening and all the good work that the consortium is doing. So that's really my recommendation and ask to please get involved with the team and be able so you are able to understand the work they're doing and be able to advocate for their services. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Carter, I think your hand is just still up. Is that correct?
Roll call.
You'll get one. All right. Is there any other discussion? If not, then it has been moved and seconded and a roll call has been requested. So all those in favor of item 24I, those opposed, no. As your name is called, and I'll ask Dave to call the roll.
Council President Furman,
No.
Alder Carter,
No.
Alder Verveer,
No.
Alder Figueroa Cole,
Yes, thank you.
Alder Vitiver,
No.
Alder Evers.
No.
Mayor, that's 1 aye and 5 noes.
With 5 noes, item 24 fails, and we'll move on to item 25, which is Legistar 75055, amending the operating budget to reallocate funds for intern stipends within the council budget. Let's get a motion, please.
Move adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there questions for staff? Alder Figueroa Cole, I think your hand is still up. Alder Vitiver, questions?
Yeah, just wondering if council staff can speak to us about how many requests they get for interns and for those interns to be paid.
Yes, thank you. Currently, we don't have any formal, well, we're currently building a formal intern program with the money that was allocated in the 2023 budget. So we don't really have a baseline yet to compare to. There have been some requests and discussions for interns, but I can't speak to a particular number because the program really hasn't gotten off the ground yet.
And so just to remind us, there is already money established in the 2023 budget for intern stipends. And how much is that?
Yes, there's currently $250 per alder in the 2023 budget for intern stipends.
Right. Thank you. Alder Carter, questions?
Thank you. And in the past, Karen, how do we get interns? Through what program?
So there are a couple of different, I think, answers to that question. The office has and also has a different pot of money to continue to recruit an intern through the Aspire program. That's a separate pot of money. We do still have that pot of money for one Aspire intern for the office in 2023. And then alders individually have worked it out privately with individuals to set up informal internships in the past, from what I understand.
And so in our current budget, we have approximately $5,000 set aside for interns. If you take the 250 times 20.
Yes, we have the 250 times 20 currently.
Okay,
correct.
Thank you.
Are there other questions for staff? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Alder Wahilahi.
Yeah, thank you. I made this amendment basically because there is funds, 250 per alder, and that's not enough to attract students as interns. So basically what this amendment is doing is just to increase the amount from 250 to 1,000 per alder for interns to support the alders. 250 is not enough, and even and that will not help attract students in terms of collaborating with students from various institutions like Madison College, UW-Madison, and Edgewood. And this will be an entry for those students to learn public service and policy. So that will be an attraction for the students to engage in the city or municipal government. So it helped two ways. One is in collaboration with other education institutions, but also bringing students to learn public policy and public service. So I hope you'll support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Furman.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the support of the intern program with this amendment, but unfortunately I can't support it. Really do want to figure out what we're doing with the money from the Alder pay before I would support something like this, and I'm not convinced necessarily this is the right place. I'm looking forward to having a longer discussion from a policy perspective on what the Common Council Executive Committee and other alders who join that meeting think of possibly adding more money. But at this time, if I need to make a decision, and I do need to vote on this today, I can't support it. Thanks.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Evers?
Thanks, Mayor. I won't be supporting this either for slightly different reasons. I'm not convinced that there's a need. Based on what our Council Chief of Staff has just said, there's not been an express need and interest, and I'm not clear that the current $250 budgeted per alder has been exhausted. So I think it's an attempt to meet a need that hasn't been clearly articulated and expressed, and therefore it would not be a wise use of the money. So for that reason, I will not be supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Madison?
Thank you. I am using headphones, so I just want to double check. Can you all hear me okay?
We can, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'm hoping that more folks will support it in the respect that $1,000 would make hiring or bringing on an intern more equitable, because a $250 stipend for even a semester of work is not an equitable way to bring on an intern. And to me, it'd be quite disrespectful to offer someone that small of an amount. I will say when I came on, I did ask for an intern. I asked how the process worked. I learned that there was not necessarily a formal process. I'm waiting to have a conversation with the current auditor who did bring on an intern. But at minimum, maybe this will, if this is supported and does pass, it will allow us to create the process for bringing on an intern in a fair and equitable way. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Is there further discussion on item 25? If not, it's been moved and seconded. So all those in favor, aye. Those opposed, no. As your name is called, then I'll ask Dave to please call the roll.
Council President Furman,
No.
Alder Carter,
Aye.
Alder Verveer,
Aye.
Alder Figueroa Cole,
No.
Alder Vitiver,
No.
Alder Evers.
No.
Mayor, that's 2 ayes and 4 noes.
As far noes, item 25 fails, and that will take us to item 26, which is Legistar 75056, amending the operating budget to transfer funds from the council office to the Department of Civil Rights for an equal opportunities investigator. Let's get a motion, please.
Move adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there questions for staff? Alder Vitiver?
I just wanted to make sure my memory was correct here. This was part of an agency request. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Alder Evers?
Well, thank you, Mayor. Along those lines, Norm, if you could perhaps go into detail about the reason why you made this request.
Sure. Thank you. We've been anticipating the attachment for the town of Madison for some time. We've known that it's been coming, and we really wanted to make sure that we were adequately resourced to meet the needs of the new residents. At the budget deliberations, I did discuss some of the relevant demographics and statistics, and I may yet re-mention those tonight, but I really wanted to underscore the importance of this work. We have the one of the oldest municipal non-discrimination, non-harassment ordinances in the country. We'll actually be celebrating 60 years of this legacy for the city of Madison this year. And these protections really enable everyone in our community. And it's really specific to the geographic boundaries of the city of Madison, but enables everyone to live free and work free of discrimination. Remedies are provided for discrimination, complaints of discrimination brought forth by the public through our office. And so the investigator plays a critical role in making sure that the analysis is thorough and that to the best of our ability, that justice is provided to affected members of the public. In addition, these positions also provide outreach and education to the public, both on the employer side and on the landlord side, and also on the tenant and employee side, to advise everyone of their obligations under the law and also their rights under the law. And so to that end, we've really tried to make new avenues for individuals to obtain these services. We've created what we call a government without walls, leveraging some of our community partnerships so that individuals in the community who may not have access to come downtown to file a complaint, for example, can actually go online, and they can file those complaints in up to 6 different languages. They can use trusted sources, community organizations in their neighborhoods to assist them in accessing the avenues to file complaints. We also have been able to obtain substantial awards for complainants to the tune of almost $1 million over the last 6 years. So the investment in an investigator really serves to provide return on investment to the community. Whether their issue or concern has to do with housing, public accommodations, or employment in the community. And so, as I mentioned at the budget deliberations, the attachment adds over 5,000 new residents. That's about 2,300 additional housing units. We know that the age of individuals in the town between 18 to 64 is greater than those individuals in the city of Madison. The average household income is about $36,000 versus $59,000 for the city of Madison. And those living below the poverty line are around 32% for the town versus about 18% for the city of Madison. And one really striking statistic is those in the town are about 72% renters versus 50% for the city of Madison. So the population that we'll be serving, that were formerly of the town of Madison, are really the population that we want to make sure that we succor and that we support with resources. And as I mentioned, we've already been requested by different members of the public for our services, but because they were not within the geographic boundaries of the city of Madison, we could not provide those services to them. And so now we can, and we're obligated to provide those services. And it's very, very helpful to have these additional resources. And I do want to appreciate Alder Waheli for bringing this amendment forward, and all of you for the unenviable task of choosing from so many different and important choices.
Thank you. Alder Carter, questions?
No, Norm answered my question, so I'm satisfied.
Are there any other questions for staff? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Alder Furman.
Thank you. Probably not a surprise. I think this is a good proposal, but I won't be supporting it. I really do want us to be thinking about using this money to help the council and help future council alders in their jobs. So just want to say with some regret, I will be voting against this today.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Wahilihe.
Thank you, and thank you, Norm, for your clarification and discussion for this. I put this amendment forward as a need for this department, the Department of Civil Rights. I know we are being bombarded by so many requests for different needs and different initiatives, but I think, you know, when I'm making decisions, I based on the needs and the wants. And some of the proposed items are want. The council office already have 5 for full-time, you know, still hiring for the 5th one. And I think they don't need this money. And the reason why is they already figuring out how they can be able to work, you know, other responsibilities and duties. And we don't want to overwhelm them with staff. So I hope this is a need. It was in the budget. I don't have to repeat what Norman has said. And I hope you will support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Vitiver.
So I supported this the first time around, and I'm going to support it again tonight. I think that as we think about equity, as it's we bandy it about quite a lot. We do have the Town of Madison attachment. I think Norm has made a very erudite case as to why we need these additional staff. And again, it was part of the original agency request, and I believe that we should support it, and that should really be our priority.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Carter.
I will be supporting this also. I'm well aware of the environment and the challenges of the Town of Madison. And since the attachment, I believe that we should give them the resources that the other parts of the city has enjoyed for many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Is there further discussion? If not, it's been moved and seconded. So all those in favor, aye. Those opposed, no, as your name is called. And I'll ask Dave to please call the roll.
Council President Furman,
No.
Alder Carter,
Aye.
Alder Verveer,
No.
Alder Figueroa Cole,
No.
Alder Vitiver,
Aye.
Alder Evers,
Aye.
Mayor, that is 3 ayes and 3 noes.
With 3 ayes and 3 noes at a tie, the amendment fails. And that is the last item on our agenda. Unless there's any other business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good night.